Welcome back to IGN's E3 live show, streaming straight to you on e3.ign.com. We just took a look at the new Assassin's Creed, so let's go right into another Ubisoft franchise, Ghost Recon. Take it away, Hillary.
Thanks, Damon. So we're going to be taking a look at Ghost Recon Future Soldier. Now, it's been an entire year since we last saw Ghost Recon, and it's seen a little bit of a change. We're going to get a look right now at the single-player campaign, or rather, it's a co-op campaign that you can play with your friends, and see what's new in Ghost Recon and how they basically built the game to be a cooperative experience. I'm joined right now by Tommy Jacob, who is the creative director of the multiplayer for Ghost Recon. So can you maybe give us a little bit of a breakdown of how the campaign is going to work for Ghost Recon?
Absolutely. So the idea is that the ghosts are fighting a shadow war. So they're going in, they're trying to bring down this assailant. They think that there's it's a weapons ring that they're going after, but they end up getting in there and finding out that it's actually much bigger than that. And it takes them locations all around the globe. So right here, what we're looking at is the ghost have inserted in Nigeria. Roman's in the middle of doing the synchronized shot, so he's going to take the ghost, he sets up the shot, brings all 4 guys down at one time. It allows players to go in there and play the game more like take the stealthy approach, bringing in the kind of true Ghost Recon, the roots back to the game, where you're going into combat without them knowing. He's going to go in behind this guy right here. He's going to do a stealth takedown. So when ghosts go into combat, when the special forces go into combat, if they engage in large-scale combat to a degree, that's almost a sign of a failure of the mission. They want to get in there as stealthily as possible, take down their targets, and get out. So it gives you the option to play that. However, if he wants to, he could go in there guns blazing and just blast these guys and bring full combat up to a high level right early on.
But there are bonuses maybe for playing the game properly, stealthily?
It's not necessarily, well, in regard to the campaign, it's not necessarily a bonus, so to speak. It's just strictly a matter of it being the player choice. Okay. You can choose to play that way if you want to. On the multiplayer side, using the tactical side of things is certainly going to keep you playing more than dying. If you sprint through the middle of the road in multiplayer, chances are somebody's going to find you and take you out. There's intel loop is a big part of the gameplay. The way you masking yourself to your enemy and keeping yourself hidden is certainly going to keep you at an advantage.
And I think one of the big things that people can notice right away that's a change is just the idea of this kind of altered reality look. We're kind of always getting this kind of informational feed spread out on the screen. Can you talk a little bit about how that works?
Absolutely. So it's the augmented reality that you see in the world. You can see the data poles in the background, and then you see the augmented reality around the ghost himself. We call that the war, the weapon augmented reality. The idea here is this is actually based on technology that's being developed for the U.S. Armed Forces today, and is actually being implemented right now. They have a way to send critical mission information to them in the field. So what we've done is, that's the information that you see more in the world, is the augmented reality that has to do with the mission information. And the stuff you see in the foreground allows us to take what is typically perceived as kind of gamey HUD elements and integrate it into the space around the soldier itself. And it's not something that is actually fiction. This is actual science. This is technology that exists today.
And this is something where if I'm playing with somebody else and say they go around on a different path than me, they spot an enemy and mark them, I'll be able to kind of get information on that enemy just based on what my friend is seeing. Is that right?
Yes, we do have line of sight intel sharing. We have a drone that once we get past this is an in-game cinematic moment where HQ is communicating to you some critical information. They're actually going to use satellite information to give you a rough outline head count of what you're getting ready to run into in regard to the amount of assailants. But then Roman will fire up the drone and get more specific information through the AR back to the team. So it's targeting those guys right now. And then when we switch back over to gameplay, we launch the drone, we'll fly around and collect some of that intel. That information is shared with your teammate. We use a coordination system in multiplayer that allows you to add one more layer of depth to the augmented reality, where you can actually link yourself and path to either a teammate, a tagged enemy, or an objective. This creates a really low barrier of entry for people coming into the maps. If you put the disc in, you've never played before, you just cracked it open, drop the disc in. As soon as your first objective comes up, you can path to it. So that way you can focus on combat in the game rather than trying to navigate around the space. The path in the world will actually lead you directly to that.
And we've got a ghost who is actually a ghost right now who's getting cloaked. Can you
Yes.
talk a little bit about this piece of technology that he's using?
Sure. So again, this is something that's inspired by technology that's currently in development by the U.S. military. The idea is it's an adaptive camo, so it takes the imagery of the surroundings and it projects it through the material that's on the soldier. This is something that in both multiplayer and in the campaign, it's a passive ability. It's based on the speed in which you traverse the space. So when you're standing still, your character will cloak. If you go into combat mode, which is you get into combat mode by pulling the left trigger, your soldier will pull your weapon up. As long as you're moving in combat mode, they stay cloaked. If you sprint through the map, it starts to disrupt the technology, so your character will reveal himself at that point. So in that case, Roman just set up manually. He set up a synchronized shot. He was able to target enemies with the single-player coordination system. And then when he fires, it automatically triggers the AI to fire as well, so you can drop 4 targets at once. It takes a mission like this where you're outnumbered maybe 20-4 and brings the numbers down a little bit more even right on the onstart.
And one of the things that we can't see because it's a single player with some AI playing right now, but when I saw people playing cooperatively together is that when one person marks and another person marks, you actually get actual signal calls on each person. It's like G1, G2,
Yeah.
G3. So that seems like that's a helpful way, I guess, to synchronize those kind of kills.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. One of the big objectives that we had for the co-op and for the multiplayer was to create systems that allowed players to non-verbally communicate their intentions. So that again ties back into the coordination system. It allows you to show, I'm going to path to this objective. It shows your teammates without them having to talk to you at all. I know that this squad over here is going to B. They've marked B as their intended target, so that's where they're heading. It's the same thing with the synchronized kill.
I know we had talked a little bit earlier about whether you take this kind of stealthily or whether you take it full force. Will that also create an alert system that, progressing through the level, if I make a lot of noise earlier on, they're going to be at an alert stage towards the end?
Yeah, so we put a lot of effort into making sound part of the actual gameplay rather than just being part of the ambience. So a lot of the missions that we have, the goals from the sound team was to create a silent space where your footsteps are something that would actually reveal your position, and through there's going to be some equipment choices that will actually allow you to mask that. So we have a lot of, we call them sound kills. If you're the first thing that alerts you to your enemy's position is their footsteps running around. We've had a lot of fun experimenting with that, prototyping that at the studio. It's been a lot of fun.
And are there any things that indicate on the HUD to a player that they're making too much noise, or is something that it's just an audio cue they have to kind of hear themselves actually making those footfalls?
Right now, there's not a HUD element that communicates the audio output of the character, but it's something that we're always working with. As I mentioned earlier, we regularly bring people in from the outside to come to play test the game. So it's something that we regularly bring fans in. We want to see if it's enough feedback, if we're getting good signs and feedback on the gameplay. So what you're looking at right here, this is one of the new things. It's one of the formations that's new to Future Soldier. It's called the Diamond Formation. So the idea is that each of the ghosts, they're surrounding and protecting this VIP. So each one of the ghosts is responsible for a certain degree of the proximity of the VIP. So as they're moving through the space, their number one goal is to get him out safely.
Now this is sort of like a bit of a sandbox game though as well, so I don't necessarily have to tackle this mission in the way that we've seen it demoed to us today, correct?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I believe Roman, when he came into this space, he kind of flanked around to the right side and allowed the ghost to sit out in front and draw fire toward the front. There are other options as to how you can get into these battle arenas. You can take the lead and just bulldoze right through the front if you think you've got the skills to take those guys out, or you can take more of a kind of tactical approach to the space.
So this is you basically just called in the cavalry, is this correct?
You called in an airstrike. There's going to be the blast goes off, releases a cloud of gas, and then it ignites the gas, creates a huge fireball, and takes down the 2 choppers.
Awesome. Well, that has been a quick look at Ghost Recon Future Soldier. It's going to be coming out later next year. Look for more on IGN.com. We're going to kick it on over back to Damon.
Thanks for that look, gentlemen. If you viewers at home are looking forward to Future Soldier, follow @IGN on Twitter and let us know. Just use the hashtag E3. Next up, we're going to check in with an old armless friend. Rayman Origins is coming up next.